Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Daily Betslip. It is myself. It is Ben Heisler. We are going to talk NHL, college basketball, NBA tonight. Game of the night is Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia, the Nets against the 76ers. And also, we're going to talk about early leans for NFL Week 12, now that all lines are released. No bye weeks this week in the NFL, by the way. All 16 teams will be playing, including 3 games on Thanksgiving, of course. Ben, have you been betting on the World Cup at all?
Yes, I have been betting on the World Cup, Ian, and I'm worried that my beginner's luck of betting the World Cup is going to come to an end very soon. Today was a 4-0 day.
Oh,
Yeah, today was a 4-0 day for the BetSided Best Bets article that we had bright and early for everybody. We had the under in the Saudi Arabia upset over Argentina. We had a draw, which was at plus 220 between Poland and Mexico. The late game, we had the over 2.5 for France and for Australia. Although ironically, like I ended up trying to make myself feel a little bit better, be like, you know what? Let's jump in on this game live. Australia takes a 1-0 lead. I'm going to take France to tie this one up at plus 160. And they did, but then they scored again and again and again and again and ended up losing that one out. I think we also had the under in the second game of the day, which two teams? I think it was Tunisia and Denmark,
yes.
I believe. So, yeah, off to a blistering start. Donovan's going to hold down the fort because he actually pays a lot more attention to it. I just started going through some of the numbers, but we'll take it. And hopefully anybody that was on it was tailing and got themselves a nice little win today.
Well, apparently I should be starting to tail the best bets article because I have been absolutely terrible betting on the World Cup. 1 in 5 so far. And my only win was minus 125. I took Saudi Arabia plus 2.25 against Argentina is my only win. And it wasn't even plus money. So I'm losing a lot of money. I knew I was going to lose money betting on the World Cup because it's a sport I know nothing about. And international play is always just even more difficult to bet on. I didn't anticipate I was going to lose this much money. So I got to reevaluate things and see if I want to keep betting. Like I said, maybe I'll just start tailing the best bets article because I can't win a bet to save my life.
Listen, we've all been there, man. Like I've had some rough NFL weeks over the last few of them. I need to start trailing some of the bacon bets. Perhaps things would be a little bit better for me on that end. But you know what I'll do? You know what I'll do for you and for our wonderful audience is when at the end of the show, when we're going through after our game of the night, when you're asking if there's anything else that we need to recap, I will give out my immediate first lean World Cup bet for tomorrow. How about that?
I love it. All right, perfect. Maybe the community will have some winners for us for tonight. So let's get into those. Now, I will say before we get to them here, to our producer, JJ, I forgot to let him know before the show, there was a couple Texas Tech picks that people submitted in that I said we were going to talk about on the show, but that game has already happened. Those people should be winners, I believe. I forget what the spread was, but Texas Tech destroyed Louisville 70-38. So I think it's fair to say, I think one person was on full game, one person was on first half spread. Louisville scored a total of 13 points in the first half. Louisville, one of the worst college basketball teams in the country this season. I think it's fair to officially say that.
It's pretty remarkable. Like that's a fan base. I kind of liken it to when Indiana had to fire Kelvin Sampson back when I was in school there in 2007. And the first 2 years of Tom Crean, like Indiana won maybe a total of 13 games in 2 years. Like you're talking about a major program going through a complete change and turnaround. Like they're atrocious. And they're taking on teams that they have no business competing with right now. It's just weird to look at Louisville and think of them as like a bottom tier college basketball team, but that's the case right now. Like they'll eventually get back. There's too much money in the program. The fan base is too good, but yeah, it's a rough watch to watch Louisville play basketball right now.
Why don't we at least bring up those two tweets just so we can give those people a shout out for giving winners that we couldn't give out on the show because the game happened too early. Cody Wells, he was on Texas Tech minus 13. So the spread was 13. Texas Tech won by some quick math, 32. So covered that by a mile. A no sweat winner from Cody Wells and one other person. If we can bring up the other Texas Tech one, I know it's a little bit out of order, but if we can bring up the other Texas Tech one, is Texas Tech first half cover from Fritz Riddle at Fritz Riddle. If the full game spread was 13, I'm assuming first half was like 6.5 or 7 or 5, and they were winning by 19 after the first half. So easy winner for those two guys. Thank you for sending those in. But let's get to some picks for tonight. Let's see if we can bring up one of the community picks for games that haven't happened yet. Here's a little points parlay coming in from Max Newman and at Maxi Newman. Only 2 NHL games for tonight. I got a pick for both of them. But Max Newman has a little points parlay, 1 player from each game. Tage Thompson, who has been the talk of the town in Buffalo for the Sabres this season, out of nowhere, has been one of the top point scorers in the NHL. For him to score a point and for Mike Zibanejad for the New York Rangers to score a point, you parlay those two together, get around plus 116. I just parlayed them on FanDuel plus 118, so somewhere around there for Tage Thompson and Mike Zibanejad to score a point, a goal, or an assist. Zibanejad.
Oh, it is Zibanejad. I'm not. I think I might have just been adding an extra consonant or two. Zibanejad.
Yes.
Okay.
So there you go. That's I don't have too much to add to that. I mean, they're both pretty favored to record a point. Minus 196 for Thompson, minus 225 for Zibanejad. I keep saying I got to get into these points NHL player props. I still haven't yet. I know total shots is a popular one as well. Maybe I got to start diving into those a little bit here within the next couple of days. Maybe next week I'll start getting into those. So best luck to you. Thank you for sending that one in. I like it. I'll tail it as well. I got it queued up here right now on my sports book, so I'll dabble on that. Let's bring up the next one for tonight. Another college basketball pick. No NBA community pick tonight. A couple NHL and some college basketball. First half K-State basketball line. That is Kansas State against Nevada. The first half line is Kansas State minus 1.5, at least at FanDuel here. I didn't make this an official pick, but I did dive into this a little bit so I could kind of contribute. I actually kind of like the under in this game. Total set at 138.5. I do like the under in that spot. Both these teams in the top 50 in defensive efficiency so far this season. Still obviously a small sample size. Kansas State inside the top 10. I want to say they're 7th in defensive efficiency. So yeah, I like the under, but if you want to go first half, I'm not a big first half, first quarter type better. Obviously not first quarter for men's college basketball, but I don't really bet a whole lot of first halves. But I don't hate it. I think the side's a little bit of a coin flip, but I do like the under in that game. Ben, do you have any thoughts on Nevada and Kansas State?
Yeah, not only are you on that game, but Josh Urich, our BetSided writer, is also on the under in this game as well. I mean, you talked about Kansas State's defense right now, like average adjusted efficiency in the top 37 in college basketball. Nevada's defense has been 3rd in effective field goal percentage for opponents. K-State forcing turnovers at a super high rate, 30% of possessions. That's 3rd best in college basketball. I can't imagine that in the Cayman Islands, there's going to be a lot of points scored between these two teams. It's actually one of our team's best bets tonight is on that under for Nevada and Kansas State, which is available up over at BetSided right now.
Yes, and I just locked it in myself. And I said it was 138.5. That was at FanDuel. Shop around because there are 139.5 out there. I just locked it in at BetMGM. So why don't you go over to BetSided, click the BetMGM promo link for a little free money.
There you go.
Bet the under 139.5 between Nevada and Kansas State, a better line than you'll get at some other books. So there you go. I just locked that pick in. I like it. That is one of 3 college basketball bets I have on today. The other one is Ohio State, which just tipped off against Cincinnati. And then I have another one for tonight that I'm going to break down later on the show. But I think we have one community pick, and it is in lockstep with one of my bets for tonight on the ice. There we go. Adam Lewis at _Lou91. Kings $ line translates to money line, I would assume. That is I'm assuming it's Los Angeles Kings. Maybe I got it wrong. Are the Sacramento Kings playing tonight? Maybe it's Sacramento Kings.
They are playing tonight. They are.
Is it a short spread?
They are on the road. It is a short spread. I believe Memphis, and I can pull this up real fast. Sacramento on the road tonight at Memphis. They are it really depends on the book. The lines are kind of all over the place for this game. I'm seeing them at +1 at FanDuel so far tonight, +1 over at DraftKings. A couple other books have them actually favored. So there's all sorts of numbers for the Sacramento Kings game. So maybe that's the one that they're referring to, but the LA Kings could also be in play as well.
I guess my hockey bias assumed it was the Los Angeles Kings, but maybe it was the Sacramento Kings. A_Lou91. If you're watching this live, let us know which Kings is it. Maybe we should just do a little Kings parlay, LA Kings, Sacramento Kings parlay. How about that?
I like it. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's too bad that the fine state of California decided, hey, you know what, sports betting, not for us, because I mean, that would have been a guaranteed boosted odds promo.
Yes,
available tonight. So they'll learn eventually.
Eventually. All right, so there we go. Those were our community picks for tonight. Let's dive into our best bets. I have 1 college basketball, 2 NHL. Ben, you got 2 college basketball and 1 NBA, I believe.
Yes.
And then, of course, we'll each have a pick for the game of the night in the NBA, which is the 76ers and the Nets later on in the show. But let's dive into our best bets for tonight. I will actually start things off here. I'm going to start with my first pick in the NHL, and I'm going to go with the Buffalo Sabres. Slight underdogs to the Montreal Canadiens here. If I were to set the odds for the game, I'd set the Sabres as slight favorites, so I will take them as underdogs in the spot. Their stats are pretty similar to the Canadian stats in terms of high danger scoring chances, expected goals against. They do have a pretty significant advantage in Corsi percentage. And if you watch the show, you know how much I love 5-on-5 Corsi percentage. Sabres rank 6th in the NHL in that stat. Canadians have ranked 20th, so they should have a bit of a possession advantage tonight. So I'll take a shot on them as underdogs. Like I said, I think the line's a little bit off. I'd probably set the Sabres as slight favorites, and instead they're slight underdogs. So only 2 games on the NHL for tonight. I'm betting on both of them. My pick for the first one is Buffalo. Even money in Montreal.
Do you have concerns, because you mentioned that you would make Buffalo a favorite, do you have concerns that they are in the midst of this pretty sizable losing streak?
No, not really.
They're due.
I try not to think of that. Streaks, I try not to make them a factor in what side I'm going to bet on, because of the fact that you could make the argument both sides. You could look at a losing streak and so say, oh, they're on a losing streak, they're playing badly, they'll lose tonight. Or you could say what you just said and look at a losing streak and say, oh, they're due, they're going to win tonight. So you could use a losing streak on either side of each argument. Instead, I'm just going to stick to the statistics, which I think are a little bit more telling. So
sure.
But yeah, very fair question. And I do have a pick for the Rangers Kings as well coming up in a bit, but
no doubt. Yeah, it makes plenty of sense given just how both teams match up. And as you mentioned, like the Canadians still have plenty of issues when it comes to this match. What should be, a fairly, big name matchup between the Sabres and the Canadiens leaves a lot to be desired in this 2-game slate tonight in the National Hockey League. And I believe that's also the NHL Network game of the night.
Oh,
so, could have done a little bit better, NHL Network, but if this is what you chose, well, that's on you.
Yeah. The later game is certainly the more enticing of the 2 matchups. Before I give my pick for that, why don't you give us your first college basketball bet for tonight?
Okay, college basketball for tonight. I am going to Maui, beautiful Maui, which I have yet to visit that island, but I would certainly love to get there at some point. And this would be the game to watch over in the Maui Invitational tonight between San Diego State, Arizona. You have 2 ranked teams who got victories yesterday. And you might think this is a bit out of the ordinary, but considering that Arizona, a team that has scored 95 plus points in all 4 games this year, that has scored over 101 points in 3 out of their 4 games this year. Believe it or not, Ian, I'm going to be taking the under of 166.5 in Maui between San Diego State and Arizona. This is a San Diego State defense that is 9th in the country in adjusted efficiency over at KenPom, your favorite site for statistical analysis and data in college basketball. I know how much you think about it night in and night out. Arizona right now is just on an insane run offensively. They're 4th in adjusted efficiency. They're 1st in effective field goal percentage. They're number 1 in the country in both 3-point percentage and 2-point percentage. Like at some point, those numbers have to start to come down. You can't be this hot, this consistent all throughout. And I feel like a time to do that would be going up against a really good defense in San Diego State, a team that has done a really good job at limiting three-point percentage throughout the course of the year. And this is also a back-to-back where both of these teams were going up and down the court. Both of the overs hit last night in Maui. I like this game to probably still reach around 160 or so, but 166.5 with this type of defense in San Diego State. And I know Arizona's defense is not outstanding, but they're still top 50, top 55 in the country in adjusted efficiency. They're going to be able to adjust some shots. They have a lot of length. I like Arizona and San Diego State to play a little bit more of a slower down pace. Just at some point, these guys are going to run out of legs running this fast in a neutral site. So 166.5, by far the highest total on the board tonight in college basketball. I will take the under as everybody continues to run towards the over to take Arizona and their red hot offense.
Yeah, I like it. I have a pick for that game as well. I'll give out in a little bit. But you're speaking about KenPom. The IMAC rankings have Arizona the number 1 team in the country. So how about that?
Yeah, listen, the way that they're playing right now offensively, I can't fault you for it. They're pretty incredible. Like, they don't miss. And it's a good way to win basketball games throughout the course of the year.
I'm going to talk about that pick in a little bit, but since we're on the topic, last night I was on Arizona as well, gave the pick out on the show, -9.5 against Cincinnati. They're winning, covering with 30 seconds left, and the Bearcats scored 2 3-point shots and decided not to foul Arizona in the final 30 seconds for the cover to miss by points. So last night was not fun. I went to bed at halftime because they were already covering at halftime, and they were kind of dominating them in the last few minutes of the half. So it was late. I went to bed. I woke up. Not only did they not cover, but they gave up 6 points, 6 unanswered points in the final 30 seconds to miss it by points. So
I think it was even worse than that. I think they gave up, 10 or 11 unanswered in the final minute to give up the cover there. So yeah, sickening stuff for, I think it was Cincinnati that they played last night. Yes. That was actually a game where the first 3 minutes of the game, the total I think opened up, because I wrote about this last night at BetSided, at 157.5 or 158.5 for that game. And I just happened to have it on. Both teams missed every shot in the first 3 minutes, even though they were going up and down the court. And the live total was down to, I think, 152.5. So it's like, yoink, going to go ahead and jump on that one. And that it ended up clearing without hesitation. But sometimes you can just get some of those better numbers if these teams get off to slow starts, and eventually shots are going to start to fall, or conversely, if teams are making too many shots and you think it's going to be more of a defensive battle, good opportunity then to take a live under there as well. So if you miss a good number, fear not, you can always find a really good number live as well.
Yeah, they almost totaled 200 points last night, 194 points. So that over bet hit by about 1 million points approximately for you. All right, but so before I give my pick for that, I mean, you can probably guess who I'm on tonight, but I'll talk about my last NHL pick. I will take the Los Angeles Kings. I forget who it was, the community picks guy. If he said Kings money line. If he meant LA Kings, I'm on it with him. If he meant Sacramento Kings, well, we're both on different Kings tonight. Igor Shesterkin, excuse me, for the Rangers tonight, has not been himself, and actually he's still not confirmed to play. It might actually be Horoslav Halak, I believe, is the backup there for the Rangers. But Igor Shesterkin, excuse me, not quite himself, not in the same Vezina Trophy winning form that he was in last year. Still pretty good. I think around a 914 save percentage. But the Rangers have a lot of issues, especially defensively, that if he isn't playing at the height of his capability, then they pay for it. And that's kind of what's been happening to the Rangers so far this season. Especially what's hurting them is that their shooting has not been good. They, I believe, 4th last in the NHL right now in shooting percentage, finding the back of the net at only 8.51% of their shots. So if they're not getting great goaltending, if they're not getting great defensive play, a lack of shooting ability is going to absolutely kill them. And the Kings quietly been playing fantastic defensively so far this season. 3rd in the NHL in 5-on-5 expected goals allowed at 2.24 per game. So Kings playing great defensively, playing against a Rangers team that has had trouble shooting, with a goaltender who is either the backup goaltender in Halak if he starts, or a Shesterkin who's not been playing at his capability so far this season. I like the Kings as very, very, very small underdogs at minus 105. And I will hope that Halak plays tonight. That will certainly help out this bet even more. So give me the LA Kings minus 105 at home to the Rangers.
Like it. Yeah, the fact that Shesterkin has not looked like himself is a great opportunity to jump on board the Kings, who've been playing really good hockey in the month of November as well.
Yes. All right. You have another college basketball play for tonight.
I do. I got another late game in the battle for San Francisco, the California Capital game that I'm deciding to call it tonight between Sacramento State and UC Davis. Now, Ian, in the interest of full transparency on the show, I can't say that I've watched a whole lot of Sacramento State versus UC Davis, but I do pay attention to odds. And I've noticed that throughout the day, it's been taking more and more consistently towards Sacramento State to be able to cover the number. So I started to dive in a little bit and try to figure out, okay, it's UC Davis appears to be a much better team. I started to look at some of their other numbers. They're 41st in the country in effective field goal percentage. They're 13th in the nation in three-point percentage. UC Davis is shooting 42.6% from beyond the free throw line this year. So what gives? Why is Sacramento State all of a sudden a very sharp play tonight? I think it's because obviously you have the local factor here, but UC Davis, it doesn't appear like they're the type of team that's going to be able to sustain that level of shooting throughout the course of the season. And credit to Sacramento State's defense. Their one key strength is actually limiting three-point field goal range. They rank 42nd in the country, usually allowing opposing teams to only shoot 26.3% from beyond the arc. So you take away what UC Davis does really, really well, which is the three-point shot, which is due to regress, versus what Sacramento State has done really effectively this year. It leads into a situation where they can hang around, and Sacramento State's not a bad free throw or bad three-point shooting team themselves. They're shooting just under 37% from beyond the arc. I also looked at how they've done, as far as covering the spread so far this year. Again, very small sample size, but they're 2-1 against the spread, but they're spread plus minus. They're against the spread plus minus, which is sort of indicative of how many points they're covering or not covering the spread by, is almost +6. So we're talking about a team that not a lot of people know that much about, including myself, but you look at some of the numbers here and you look at how the line continues to move towards them, sets up really well for them to cover here in a local game over where the Sacramento Kings play tonight. So yeah, go ahead and give me Sacramento State +4 against UC Davis tonight.
I like it. The Sacramento State Hornets, hailing from the Big Sky Conference, taking on the UC Davis Aggies, hailing from the Big West. You are going against, I'm a huge Big West guy, so you are going against a Big West team here. But as long as it's not UC Irvine, it is fine with me. UC Irvine, by the way, broke my heart. Was it over the weekend? Lost to Pepperdine? Tough loss. First loss for the Anteaters this season. But I got a college basketball pick. Kind of alluded to it already, but I'm going to take Arizona to cover the small spread against San Diego State in the game that you are on the under. I will admit this is a little bit of maybe an emotional bet. Losing that heartbreaker against Cincinnati last night, it kind of feels like, when you lose a bad hand in blackjack and then you just double your bet size on the next hand of blackjack. That's kind of what I'm doing right now, because Arizona should have covered that spread. They didn't. I'm now back on Arizona to win and cover tonight against San Diego State, but still the best shooting team in the country right now. First in effective field goal percentage at 71%, 10.8% higher than the next best team in the country.
Remarkable.
San Diego State, historically a very good defensive team. Ben, you mentioned that when talking about the under. Defensive efficiency, not quite as good so far this season. Still a small sample size, though. But will they have enough to slow down Arizona and beat them tonight? I don't know. I like this Arizona team. I liked them a lot last year. I felt they were just kind of the victims of hitting a little bit of a rut at a bad time, right heading into the tournament. They were playing their worst basketball of the year. I like this Arizona team again this year. And I'm going to fade Mountain West teams. I don't like Mountain West teams. Every year they seduce us into thinking that they're going to be good. San Diego State has already done that with a couple big wins this year. And then come the time of the tournament, they all lose in the first round. So I now have issues with Mountain West basketball. I will take Arizona -1.5 tonight against San Diego State. The same San Diego State who will lose tonight, and then the San Diego State will lose again on Tuesday, November 29th, because they have to play against the number 2 team in the country, the UC Irvine Anteaters, who unfortunately can't call them the number 1 team in the country. That now belongs to Pepperdine. But they're the number 2 team in the country, and they will beat San Diego State on November 29th as a little look ahead.
I don't know much about Pepperdine, but I can tell you that if you've ever imagined a place that like feels like you're going on a honeymoon trip, but it happens to be 4 years of a university, that's what Pepperdine looks like. You're like right on the ocean. It's spectacular weather. Like if you go to Pepperdine, I don't know how you get. It's hard enough to go to college in the middle of nowhere and get.
Let me look this school up.
Study. If you go to school at Pepperdine, I don't know why you would go to class. Your class is probably like with ocean views. It's spectacular.
It looks like they're. Oh my god, this looks like heaven.
Right?
They're like in. They look like it's like a mix between wine country and like a golf resort and like an oceanside resort, all mixed into one.
Yeah, like if I ever had a chance to like go back to school, if I had the money to go to Pepperdine for like a semester, I think I would do it. And
why would you ever go to any school other than Pepperdine? Now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I really don't know why you would go anywhere else. And Ian, I mean, like, look at me. I don't do well at the beach. But I would find a way to go. That looks incredible.
Ooh. The Pepperdine Waves. Kids opening Pokemon chimed in. Pepperdine, making sure that I pronounce it correctly. That's right. I mispronounced them as Pepperdine. Especially when I watch these late game college basketball, I have it on mute, so I never know how to pronounce some of these schools. So noted, it is Pepperdine. Skippy Byron says Fortnite Battle Pass. Completely random comment. Probably spam. Just had to shout that out. Shout out Fortnite.
I've never played Fortnite in my life. And also, Ian, like I hate to harp on this, but if Pepperdine is now the number 1 team in the IMAC rankings,
yes,
you got to know how to pronounce them, man.
Yes. Well, that's true. I did say Arizona's number 1, so I guess that means Pepperdine is number 2 and UC Irvine's number 3.
Irvine's falling all the way to 3 in a matter of minutes.
Yes.
I mean, we do move lines on this show, so let's be honest.
Oh, this is Practical Picks, who I guess on YouTube is Kids Opening Pokemon. Hello, my friend. He's been giving us some winners on the show. Didn't send in a winner. Didn't send in a pick today though. Practical. Who's your pick today, my friend?
Yeah,
give us your lock for tonight, because you did tweet for us. You did tweet at us after we went live, or that was on the other show. But I do have a pick from him tonight. Southern Miss Golden Eagles against Winthrop. Has that game happened yet?
I think it did, actually.
It's better have been a winner. It did. 77-52. There you go. Practical. Give us a pick for tonight as well. Let's keep this hot streak alive. All right. So last pick for the best bets portion. Ben, you have an NBA pick for tonight.
I do. I know you don't love the first half picks in college basketball, but I do love first quarter picks in the NBA. Yes. And you have one of the best teams in the NBA in the Denver Nuggets against one of the worst teams in the NBA in the Detroit Pistons. The game is in altitude over in Denver. And we're talking about a Nuggets team that is outstanding in the early going for their games this year. Looking at some of their advanced stats when it comes to first quarters at home, you got a Denver Nuggets team that is 3rd in the NBA in net rating. You have a Nuggets offense that has been top 10 and a defensive rating that also has hovered around the top 6, top 7 throughout the course of the year, versus a Detroit team on the road in the first quarter that has struggled consistently. The Detroit Pistons, when it comes to offensive ranking and offensive rating, are bottom 5 when first quarter on the road. Defensive rating, they are also troublesome as well. They're around 17th. Net rating wise, they're also in the bottom 9 of the league. And all they have to do is cover by 1.5 points. I did one sort of double up. It's not really a parlay. It was just offered at DraftKings, where you can take the Nuggets at -1.5 along with the under of 57.5, which makes sense given that the Nuggets actually have been much better defensively in the first, and you have a struggling Pistons team offensively. that parlay together is plus 245. So for purposes of this show, I like the Nuggets first quarter minus 1.5. But I will say, if you're looking for sort of a double play on that to get substantially better odds and a nice payday, the Nuggets first quarter minus 1.5 and the under a 57.5 is available at plus 245. So I also sprinkled a little bit on that tonight as well.
There you go. Nuggets first quarter minus 1.5 against the Pistons. Practical picks. He chimed in and said, I love Arizona tonight. So there you go. We are both on Arizona. That is officially a collab pick. How about that? Big collab pick. Last week, I believe we were both on the San Francisco Dons against Fresno State, and they came through for us. So let's go 2-0 with the collab picks here.
I'm a little disappointed. The Dons are actually here in Kansas City. They're playing in the Hall of Fame Classic. And I saw it. Was like, oh, this would be fun to go, but both of the games are in the middle of the day. Doesn't make sense at all. If there was in some night games, I would have ventured out to the city, gone to T-Mobile Center, and checked out the Dons, but no dice for me.
Yeah, that's right. Today they beat the Wichita State Shockers. San Francisco Dons improved to 6-0 on the year, and on Friday at 2 p.m., I don't know if that's part of the same tournament, but Davidson, they're taking them on.
Don't believe so. I believe that is either a different tournament or back at a different arena. No,
got it.
Hall of Fame Classic is usually only 4 teams. They almost always have one local team. It changes between KU, K-State, Missouri's done it. Wichita State is about a 3.5-hour drive away on the Kansas side. So yeah, they usually try to get one local team in and then bring in occasional some other teams around the league. It's not one of the top tier tournaments, but still a good time here in this wonderful city.
Absolutely. Let's recap our picks and then we'll talk about NFL Week 12. Excuse me. I should not be drinking carbonated water before I do these shows. NHL, I got the Buffalo Sabres at even money against the Canadians. I got the Kings minus 105 against the Rangers and the Arizona Wildcats minus 1.5 against San Diego State. Ben, you're on Nuggets first quarter minus 1.5. You got the under 166.5 between San Diego State and Arizona, and you got Sacramento State, the Hornets, plus 4 against UC Davis. We still got picks coming up for game of the night, but first let's talk about NFL Week 12, our early leans, or I guess, I don't know if you've locked in your pick. I know I've already locked in my pick, so mine's an early pick at least. Actually, you have 2 different games here. So let me get my note here, and then we'll talk about the 2 that you're on, because I actually I got some thoughts on your picks now that I see them. Okay. I'm going to go surprisingly, because I do not usually like laying double-digit points. I especially don't like laying 2 touchdowns on a team, but this is the time to take it. The Kansas City Chiefs minus 14.5 against the Los Angeles Rams. This Rams team is toast. This is a matchup between the team that leads the NFL in yards per play in the Kansas City Chiefs and a team that is dead last in the NFL in yards per play in the LA Rams. That's right. The Rams have the worst offense in the National Football League the season after winning the Super Bowl. Not only that, they've lost Cooper Kupp for at least a few weeks. Matt Stafford is questionable in concussion protocol. It is a disaster for the LA Rams. It is time to completely fade them. And the Chiefs, they're looking pretty good, leading the NFL in third down conversion rate, third in the NFL in red zone offense. I think the Chiefs blow the Rams out of the water by 1 million points. I'll take a minus 14.5. And yes, the Rams also, JJ just chimed in here, has also waived Darrell Henderson today too. So it's not a good situation in Los Angeles right now. So as much as I do not like
team.
What's that?
So that's not good for my fantasy team. They just flat out win. Actually, depending on where he goes, it could be a good thing.
That's true. But yeah, it's a disaster in Los Angeles. So I think the Chiefs are going to win by a lot of points. I hope we're going to see a rematch of their 2018 shootout, which might be the greatest NFL game that's ever been played. I would guess probably not, though.
That was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, a Mexico City game.
Yes.
But it got moved to Los Angeles.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the specific reason. Yeah, that Jared Goff was on fire. Mahomes was on fire. I think it was like 51-48 on Monday night. That was like a Joe Tessitore game, if I'm not mistaken. So that is definitely one that is worth paying attention to. This week is not one of those opportunities.
No.
My only concern for you, Ian, is that the Chiefs have not been a good covering team this year, especially at home. The one time that they've covered against the spread was their most recent game against Jacksonville at home. It closed at 9.5, and they won the game by 10. For whatever reason, like they just need something to wake them up and to piss them off a little bit. They didn't cover against the Chargers either. Like, of course they should win by 1,000,000 points, but they let teams hang around, and there's no real reason for it. So the fact that it's 14.5 probably scares me away. I'll probably take the under because I just don't trust the Rams to be able to move or score points. But I mean, everything about what you just said adds up, other than the fact that the Chiefs just do not like to cover the spread, both this year and also at home. So that is a bit of a concern for me, but the data makes sense.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Chiefs not a great covering team when the spread's pretty big, but you got 2 early NFL picks that you want to get into, so let's hear them.
Yeah, I'll go through them relatively quickly. I actually, wrote an article about this over at BetSided today about the games that I like. Oh, my dog is here. The games that I really like for this week that I would definitely suggest playing before the lines move. So I've actually been on a handful of them, but I think my 2 favorites involve the Baltimore Ravens, who are currently -4. I was able to get them at -3.5. They're kind of the opposite or they're sort of similar to Kansas City in the sense that they're not a good covering team at home. In fact, they haven't covered the spread at all at home this year. 0-4-1 against the spread, but away from M&T Bank Stadium, they're 4-1-0. They're 3-1-0 as a road favorite, and going all the way back to when John Harbaugh started in 2008 for Baltimore, there has been no team that has won more games on the road covering the spread than the Baltimore Ravens. They've done it at a 58% clip. You have Jacksonville, who's not good at getting to the quarterback, especially when Lamar Jackson is your quarterback. That poses a significant concern for me. And we've already seen this line start to move towards the direction of Baltimore. So early in for me, I got in on the Ravens at -3.5, but honestly, I don't mind it at -4 either here.
I will say about that game, Jaguars are actually my upset pick of the week. So I'm on the opposite side with you for that one. I think they actually match up a little bit stylistically well. I think they can stop the run. But yeah, I mean, the Ravens overall are a better team, but and also I've been cold with my upset picks this season, so maybe that's a good sign for you. But so I'm on the upset for that one, but your other one, Bengals Titans, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. So let's talk about that game really quickly. The Bengals right now short road favorites against Tennessee. We can't necessarily call the Titans fraudulent at this point, even though I know we both want to. I mean, they're the hottest team in the NFL in covering the spread. They've covered the spread in 8 straight games. But Cincinnati, I think since that game against Carolina, has made some big adjustments on their offensive line. They've gotten their run game going a little bit more. Burrow is still making magic happen even without Jamar Chase. T. Higgins had another big game. Tyler Boyd's continue to get involved. Hayden Hurst has looked like a nice option for them. And it's still a vastly underrated defense. I still feel like because of all the playmakers on offense, we don't talk enough about how good the Bengals defense is, especially in the pass game. Now, they gave up some points to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but at some point, the talent discrepancy between the Bengals and the Titans is going to start to show. And Tennessee has already achieved at a monster rate this year. Cincinnati also needs this game a lot more to make sure that they're back in the playoff conversation. So I think we're going to see this game continue to move throughout the course of the week. I was able to get it at -1.5. It's seen it at up to 2 at some spots. Wouldn't surprise me if this goes up to 2.5, maybe even 3 over the course of the week. I really do like Cincinnati as a short road favorite, even against a team like Tennessee, who has been wonderful for bettors. After losing their first 2 games against the spread, they have not lost since the middle of September in covering the number. Pretty impressive stuff. Like, Mike Vrabel legitimately deserves to be back in the coach of the year conversation for the amount of talent on that team.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with Cincinnati there. I will say about Tennessee, they've actually become less fraudulent. I know we can't really call them frauds because they just defy all stats, but even statistically, they have improved. When I started recording net yards per play, which I think was around week 6 or week 7, they're dead last in the NFL. Since then, they've climbed all the way up. They're now 19th in the NFL. So still bottom half of the league in net yards per play, which to be fair, there's a lot of other things that you have to look at that isn't calculating the net yards per play. For example, the Titans have the best third down defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
But statistically, they have been performing better over the last about 5 or 6 weeks. So credit where credit is due. I did bet on the Titans 2 weeks ago against the Broncos. I shouldn't have got off their train last week because then they upset the Packers on Thursday Night Football. But once again, unfortunately, I have to fade them because I think the Bengals are a sneaky contender to get back to the Super Bowl, one that not a lot of people are talking about. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Bengals over the Titans.
It's a tough schedule the rest of the way, but I think if you're going to go ahead and jump on them now, I certainly can't hurt but take a look at where their futures odds currently stack up. I'll try to find those in the next 30 seconds or so. But listen, the AFC still has teams with plenty of flaws. Kansas City, top team in the AFC right now, plenty of flaws. Buffalo, still the Super Bowl favorite. We've seen it, plenty of flaws there. So Cincinnati can make a run. Like, they have the pieces, especially if everybody gets healthy. But I think the big adjustment of them being able to start protecting Joe Burrow has made a monster difference, and it's absolutely worth following up on those to see where it ultimately goes after this.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of parity in the NFL this year. A lot of teams that could certainly go on a run and win. But let's talk about game of the night. Let's completely switch sports now. We're going to the National Basketball Association, Brooklyn Nets, Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of guys out for the 76ers. James Harden, Joel Embiid, just to name a couple. So the spread, 8 points in favor of the Nets. What is your best bet for this Eastern Conference showdown, which is Ben Simmons' return to Philadelphia, by the way?
Yeah, that's the big narrative, and I've seen plenty of really sharp people backing Ben Simmons overs tonight. He's finally got a lot of confidence back, and kudos to him. Like, I'm glad he's found it. When he's on, he's a really dynamic, interesting player to watch. But that's just not something I want to be a part of because I just think there's too much public interest in it. So if anything, I'm looking at a player prop in this game instead, and go with Tobias Harris over 18.5 points. He didn't hit it last time out, only had 8 points in their previous game, but he's also hit it in 3 of the last 5 games. In those games where he has hit the player prop, he scored 21 plus points. Fantasy Labs track this, that when Joel Embiid didn't play last year, Tobias Harris had a usage rate of just under 29%, while also averaging more than 34 minutes per game. It's projected to be a game that the Sixers are going to need his help on scoring the basketball. So even if he's not necessarily efficient, he's going to have to jack up a bunch of shots in this game. And, Brooklyn, for a lot of things that they're trying to fix right now, are among the worst teams in the league at opposing 3-point percentage. So Harris, when he gets open shots, can make them. Again, he's a bit inconsistent when it comes to this prop, but the ball's just going to be in his hands so much tonight that it's hard for me to look at a number like 18.5 and say, that's not a reasonable place for him to be able to get to. So I like Tobias. I just think there's going to be plenty of volume, plenty of consistency for him to clear this points prop tonight.
I like a little player prop for the game of the night. I'm going to go with a side in this one, and I'm going to get back to my underreacting, which is something I've gotten away from. 76ers obviously missing James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. Don't care. I'm going to underreact. Give me the points with the Philadelphia 76ers here. I just can't really trust Brooklyn to win by any large margin based on how they've played. You look at defensive efficiency, 76ers still one of the best teams in the NBA, even with these guys out. 4th in defensive efficiency. Brooklyn's down at 18th. And I think the biggest weak point for the 76ers with Joel Embiid, or at least obviously one of them, I mean, Joel Embiid's an MVP candidate, but rebounding. They're already a bad rebounding team with Joel Embiid. That area is going to get even worse, but they're taking on the second worst rebounding team in the NBA in the Brooklyn Nets. So I don't think they're going to be hurting on the boards too bad. So I will take the 8 points. I think this is a little bit of an overreaction to the guys being out for the 76ers and to Ben Simmons playing well lately. I will underreact to all of that. Give me the team getting the points, 76ers +8, which makes me on the opposite side of the community poll tonight, who's on the Nets -8. Poll results are in there. They are laying the points with the Nets. Community poll 0-1 this week. Myself and the poll were on opposite sides last night, and went in my favor with the 49ers covering the 10-point spread against the Cardinals. Poll was on the Cardinals. So it is once again me against the poll in the game of the night tonight.
Don't hate it. I think especially whenever the community starts to recognize that there are a bunch of guys out, they tend to lean towards the favorites there. But it actually works right into your narrative, Ian, of not overreacting to it. So we'll see who has the last laugh on Wednesday's show.
Yes, we will. We'll see if I can go 2-0 against the community poll. But there you go. That is our show for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video. Give us a little subscribe. The early read went live earlier today. If I have my days right, today is Tuesday. Reed broke down his best bets for the college football slate this weekend. And Daily Betslip will be back tomorrow. I believe it's going to be me and Donovan Smoot. I don't know if I've told Donovan that he's doing the show with me yet, but I will force him to do it. And also, I got a special guest for tomorrow's show. JJ Gruden is going to be joining me to give out his picks for the Thanksgiving Day slate of NFL games on Thursday, and then there will not be a Thursday show. So there you go. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about Thursday NFL games as well as maybe some Sunday NFL action and some bets for tomorrow night. So big loaded show for tomorrow. Be sure to tune in for that 5 p.m. Eastern. Ben, any final thoughts?
You asked at the beginning about my World Cup betting success.
Yes.
Beginner's luck. I think this line's going to move right now between your Team Canada and Belgium, the late game on the World Cup stage on Wednesday. I like the over. The over is currently set at 2.5 goals. You can get that at minus 135.
Love the over.
At Caesars. Belgium has scored just under 20 goals in their past 10 matches. Canada has scored 2+ goals in 8 of their past 11. Normally you think of Belgium as like a pretty rock solid team defensively, but they've kind of pushed the pace a little bit. And, given the way that Canada wants to play, I think both of these teams are just going to go up and down the pitch and have some fun. Now, whether or not Canada digs themselves into a bit of a hole, I'm not sure. But 2.5, I don't think it's going to last at minus 135 for very long. I think that number is going to continue to go up, and I would get it now before it goes to 3.
Love that pick. I'm on it with you. I've talked to some of my friends who follow Canadian soccer a little bit more than I do, and they say that Canada will have no issue with the offensive portion of their game this tournament. It's that they might not be able to stop anybody defensively. So that should lead to a lot of goals in their matches. So I was already going to bet the over. You have confirmed it for me. So locking it in. Bet of the day tomorrow for the World Cup, over 2.5 Belgium.
All right, let's stay hot here because I want to continue to bet World Cup and continue to make plays for everybody. So
let's do it.
If all of a sudden we go ice cold, then you'll know that the beginner's luck's starting to fade.
Yes, and it'll be my fault for being on the pick. But there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck with your bets tonight. Gamble or bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.